Many odd alliances have formed through history. This story is no exception. This is what happened when mob boss Raymond Patriarca crossed paths with George Lincoln Rockwell in the American Nazi Party. George Lincoln Rockwell was a Navy veteran pilot at the rank of commander. For this, he would be known as Commander Rockwell in his political career. In March of 1959, George Lincoln Rockwell founded the World Union of Free Enterprise National Socialists, later that year renaming it to the American Nazi Party. He spent his time training his men, traveling the countries, giving speeches at colleges, having debates, writing papers, books, and running for office. He would have many high-profile encounters, most notably Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. Raymond Patriarca was destined to be a mobster. In his teens, he was arrested for hijacking, fighting, theft, robbery, among other things. He would take power when New England mob boss Philip Bucola fled America to avoid arrest for tax evasion. Patriarca took over the family and had become known as the Patriarca crime family. Patriarca would be known as a ruthless, extremely powerful mob boss with close relationships to two of the 5 New York families, Colombo and Genovese. He also had a seat at the commission. Patriarca had many high-profile ties, including Frank Sinatra, Meyer Lansky, politicians, athletes, and judges. What would cause this seemingly unlikely alliance? Money and a mutual enemy. Rockwell needed funding for his political efforts, and they both had a mutual enemy, Ed Brooke, the first popularly elected black senator in American history. The first documented time Patriarca heard of Rockwell was from a quote-unquote Boston hoodlum that was recently released from a Massachusetts state prison, who had gone to Arlington, Virginia to meet Rockwell. He would explain to Patriarca that he was a devout follower of Rockwell. Patriarca would give this quote-unquote Boston hoodlum thousands of dollars to put on the streets for loan sharking. It is uncertain when first contact was made between Patriarca and Rockwell, but it is believed Patriarca used Louis the Fox Taglianetti as his go-to middleman. According to the FBI documents,
Redacted stated that Rockwell has intentions of running for governor of Virginia. He is well received in Virginia and has high hopes of becoming governor there. Redacted had just returned from Rockwell's headquarters in Virginia and described to Patriarca the physical layout. He stated that there are many individuals dressed as stormtroopers upon entrance to the headquarters.
1965 wiretaps would start to unravel the Patriarca family and their relationship with Rockwell. Freedom of Information Act requests revealed the plans between Patriarca and Rockwell. It seemed they also had shared some political beliefs.
FBI memo states, Redacted stated that he is closely associated with George Lincoln Rockwell, the American Nazi Party leader. He pointed out that the U.S. Army now has 30% Negroes, and that the draft boards are taking many more Negroes than whites. He estimated that in a few years the armed services will be comprised of over 50% Negroes, and warned Patriarca that at this time the Negroes having control of the armed forces will take over the United States. Redacted told Patriarca that Redacted desired to furnish funds to the ANP, and in order to avoid any complications and tax problems Rockwell has requested Redacted to find a location in Maine the ANP can open a seminary and thereby become known as a religious organization. In this way, Redacted could furnish a substantial amount of money to the seminary which, in turn, would be used for the ANP. Patriarca himself would mastermind the idea of Rockwell opening a church in Maine to bypass taxes. Patriarca advised that the seminary that is to be opened by Redacted in Maine will be called the White Church of America of Maine.
Patriarca had a plan when then Attorney General Ed Brooke would run for governor of Massachusetts. This would be the perfect opportunity for the American Nazi Party to infiltrate Massachusetts politics. Multiple sites online allege a plot between Patriarca and Rockwell to kill Ed Brooke.
February 12, 1974 enclosed to Boston and Washington Field, WFO, are 2 copies of each of a U.S. Secret Service letter to the Bureau dated February 8, 1974 and its enclosure, an incident report, reflecting that Redacted made threats to the lives of Senators Brooke and Kennedy on January 1, 1974 at Boston, Massachusetts. Boston interview Redacted in accordance with Manual of Instructions, Volume 2, Section 18 and ensure local police and offices of the Senators are aware of the threat. WFO ensures that local police departments covering senators' residences and offices are aware of the threats. On February 13, 1974 Sergeant Redacted Capitol Police Department Unit and Investigator Redacted Fairfax County Police Department, McLean Subdivision, were advised of the threat against Senator Edward Brooke and Senator Edward M. Kennedy. They stated that the information will be made known to all appropriate individuals. Redacted advised on February 13, 1974 that Senator Brooke, who resides at 2500 Watergate East, is out of the country. However, she would make the appropriate notes in her records. March 14, 1974. Dear Sir, this is to confirm a conversation between Assistant United States Attorney Redacted and Special Agent Redacted on February 28, 1974, wherein the following was discussed. On January 17, 1974, an incident occurred at the John F. Kennedy Federal Building in the Health Unit. An individual, subsequently identified as Redacted Boston, Massachusetts, was reported to have made threats against the lives of Senators Kennedy and Brooke. A nurse at the health unit reported the matter to the Federal Protective Service guards at the same building. Investigation determined the only witness was not certain as to exactly what Redacted said. The witness, Redacted, advised she only heard Redacted say something that sounded like, killing senators. By the time the matter was initially referred to the FBI, the subject allegedly had threatened the lives of Senator Brooke and Senator Kennedy. Redacted had been admitted on January 11, 1974 to the Redford Veterans Administration, VA, hospital where he was diagnosed as Redacted and was a victim of Redacted. Redacted had been discharged on Redacted after having been, and continuing on, the use of prescribed medication. Redacted has been interviewed by the Secret Service and adjudged not a threat within its jurisdiction. Assistant United States Attorney Redacted advised this matter has no federal prosecutive merits and would therefore decline any prosecution in this matter. In view of the above, this matter is considered closed at the Boston office of the FBI.
It seems there was a potential assassination plot from these records. Were Patriarca and Rockwell actually plotting the assassinations? Was Rockwell the veteran in the hospital overheard threatening the lives of the senators? The answer is no. George Lincoln Rockwell was assassinated August 25, 1967 in Arlington, Virginia. Was Raymond Patriarca putting into action a plan that he and Rockwell had put together a decade earlier? The answer, again, is no. Raymond Patriarca was arrested March of 1970 and sentenced to 10 years in prison. The likelihood that Rockwell and Patriarca plotted to kill these senators is extremely unlikely. In the FBI's own document, when Rockwell and Patriarca had first made contact, Rockwell warned that he wanted no knowledge or involvement in anything illegal, and if he was made aware that he, Rockwell himself, would call the FBI and give them the information.